This example comes out of chapter 9, section 9.2, solving quadratic inequalities, but in only one variable, meaning we don't have x's and y's in these questions, we just have a single variable. So my first example is this: x squared minus x is less than 12. My best advice for you in this is similar to way back when we did solving in chapter 4, is get 0 on one side, put the whole quadratic on the other side. So in this case, just subtract 12 and you have this: x squared minus x minus 12 is less than 0. So really I'm looking at this quadratic and saying, if I can factor it, let's factor it. If not, I suppose I'd head down the road to the quadratic formula. But in this case, numbers that multiply to negative 12 and add to negative 1, I can come up with it, I can factor, I can decompose, and I get to a spot looks like this: x minus 4 times x minus 3 is less than 0. So I know now the two places that are important here, and they are at 4 and at negative 3. So what I do right away is I draw a number line and I put a circle on negative 3 and on positive 4. So I started off by doing that here. The next thing I do is I say, okay, well, all I really need to do is test the regions to the left of negative 3, in between negative 3 and 4, and to the right of 4. I'm sorry I have all this writing on there, but let's just do that live instead. Get rid of that stuff. So if I know that negative 3 and 4 are not part of the solution, because this did not have an equal to sign, so they would make this equal 0. The only question is, okay, what happens to the left of negative 3? If I pick a number like negative 10 and stick it in here, I'm going to have a negative times a negative. A negative times a negative gives me a positive. A positive number does not satisfy this inequality. So any number less than negative 3 will not be an answer to this question. And I don't have to check a whole bunch of others as soon as I check one. Now I pick a number between negative 3 and 4. If I pick a number between negative 3 and 4, like 0 or 1 or negative 1, I will have a negative times a positive. A negative times a positive, in this case, does give me a negative, and so those numbers that are in there do make up my solution. If I try a number bigger than 4 in these factors, I'm going to have a positive times a positive again. A positive times a positive once again gives me a positive, and so they do not satisfy. So this middle region is the answer to my inequality. To write that out as an inequality is just to write, okay, well, the answers for x are x needs to be greater than negative 3 and smaller than 4. And so that's the answer to the question. And so you won't need to draw a graph for these questions because you're only talking about one variable. You can represent it on a number line or with just an inequality statement like that.